I'm working on the top border of the Feather Rhapsody quilt, and I have stitched the top feather arch border and the scallops. Next, I need to create a boundary so that I can place the piano keys and then do fill. To create a boundary, I need to have a border that outlines the outside of these arch patterns. I'm only going to fill half of the border at one time. To create the boundary, I'm going to use Draw Arc and the head of my machine. I'm going to start on the bottom left corner and click my first point. With Draw Arc, the second point is the middle of your arc, and then you click again to close the arc. The second arc, you click middle and end, then middle and end, middle, and I had very good luck by drawing these boundaries, or drawing the arcs and then converting to boundary. When I get to the small space in between the arcs, then I take a very small, move the head just a very small bit to create the middle of the arc, and then the other side of that, the base of that arc, to close it. Then I do middle, top, middle, bottom, just a small move across the bottom, middle, end, middle, bottom, and across, and close drawing and exit drawing. Now I need to connect these arcs that I just drew with the scallops. So I'm going to move these scallops here out of the way. I'm going to click on Draw Line, and with Snap and Snap On, I'm going to draw a line from that where I ended with the arc to the end of that scallop, and I'm going to draw a line down this side and then over to connect with, I need to grab that line and snap it to the other. Now if I click on Order Join, it has connected all of those lines that I've drawn. I'm going to click Combine Pattern and then select it again and convert it to a boundary. The next step is to place the corner patterns. So I'll grab the Feather Rhapsody corner piano key, and I'm going to bring it in and line the tip up with the tip of the blue line, which is my boundary line. I don't want it inside the boundary because I don't want that tip cut off when we do fill. Then I'm going to Control C, Control V, and use my space bar to rotate to put in the other corner. I need to be just close enough because I'm not stitching this now. What I'm placing it for is so that I can measure the distance between these two corners to get the repeats that I need for the piano keys. Having done that, I'm going to click on my measure tape and measure from my left corner to my right corner. You can see that in the measure there is an angle, and the reason I didn't use draw line, because if I used apply to a draw line with an angle, then the piano keys would go in with an angle. So I'm going to right click with my mouse to close the measure tool. I'm going to select my piano keys, click on repeat patterns. I'm going to click on change my point type to start point and click on the end of my left corner pattern. Then in my setup box for repeat patterns, I'm going to click in the set total size width and right click and transfer the width. I am not transferring the angle, I am just transferring the width. Then I say OK. Now we're not stitching the patterns that are on the right side of this boundary anyways, so I don't care if these are connected or not. And when we do fill, it would connect them anyways. So I'm going to toggle the patterns that are outside of the boundary and toggle those as sewn. Now I need to bring these piano keys down below the line, so I'm going to pull these repeats down. This repeat here I need to move up so that when I do fill, it would have left this piece out here to stitch, and we don't want to do that. So I'll move that up so that it's inside the boundary. And for this, I'm going to first fill the corner by itself. I'll show you why. Fill inside. And you'll see that the pattern, when it was filled, the end of the pattern is here. Had I selected all of them, including the corner at once, then there would have been a stitch line that would have gone around this scallop to start the next piano case. So to avoid that, I'm just selecting the corner and filling it by itself. Then I'm going to take the rest of these piano keys and fill inside. To stitch these, I slowed the machine down to like 6 or 7 so that I could make sure that when the stitches came up to this arch, that I could watch to make sure that it stitches on top of the other line. And I also turned stitch and points on, which gave the machine head a little hesitation when it gets to a point to help you control it even more. The last thing that I would have you do is to make sure that you zoom in and make sure that fill has behaved at all of the points. There were a couple when I was doing this where fill jumped across the top and I had to use nodes to fix it before I stitched. So that's how I placed the piano keys for the second side. Then in addition to clicking the arcs for the rest of the repeats in the corner, then I also clicked arcs around the scallops to accommodate any shrinkage that had taken place with all the piano keys that had stitched. Hope this helps you with your borders.